Thalrix stepped off the transport ship and looked at the human colony below. The planet Vascara Prime stretched before him with blue skies and green fields. Everything looked peaceful. Too peaceful for a border world between two fighting empires. He was a Cathari, a species that loved peace and science. His people had never fought a war. They did not understand war. That was why the Galactic Council sent him here. Someone needed to watch the humans. Someone needed to understand them. The Council thought humans were weak. Small bodies, soft skin. They seemed harmless. Thalrix believed that too. He had read all the reports. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only left their home world 50 years ago. They were not strong like the Vraxians. They were not smart like the Cathari. They were just average. Nothing special. A human walked up to greet him. The man was shorter than Thalrix. His brown hair was cut short. He wore a simple uniform with no decoration. He smiled and held out his hand. "Welcome to Vascara Prime. I am Captain Hondoyan. You must be Observer Thalrix." Thalrix took the hand carefully. Humans liked to touch hands when they met. It was strange, but he tried to be polite. The captain's grip was firm but gentle. "Thank you for meeting me, Captain. I am here to observe and report to the Council." Doyen nodded. "Of course. Let me show you around. We have nothing to hide." They walked through the colony. Thalrix saw human families working in gardens. Children played in the streets. Shops were open. People smiled and talked. It looked like any peaceful colony in the galaxy. But this was a border world. The Vraxian Empire claimed this sector. So did the humans. War could start at any moment. "You seem very relaxed for a military outpost," Thalrix said. Doyen smiled. "Life goes on. We cannot stop living because of threats." Inside the command center, Thalrix met more humans. Lieutenant Borominhyuk stood at a large screen showing maps. He was young, with sharp eyes. He nodded at Thalrix but kept working. Sergeant Yunajiwu walked past carrying weapons. She was a woman with strong arms and tired eyes. She looked at Thalrix for a moment, then continued her work. Corporal Lee Taehoon sat at a table fixing some equipment. He was humming a song. Everything seemed casual. Disorganized, even. Thalrix made notes in his device. The humans did not act like soldiers. They joked with each other. They seemed more like farmers than warriors. "Captain Doyen," Thalrix said carefully, "the Vraxians claim this territory. They are a powerful empire. Their warriors are twice your size. What will you do if they attack?" Doyen sat down and poured 2 cups of tea. He offered one to Thalrix. "We will deal with it if it happens. But surely you must have a plan. An evacuation route?" "We have plans," Doyen said quietly. "But we are not leaving." Thalrix did not understand. Logic said humans should leave. They could not win against Vraxians. Any calculation showed that. But humans were known to be emotional. Maybe that was their problem. That night, alarms woke Thalrix from sleep. Red lights flashed. He ran to the command center. Doyen was already there, calm and dressed. Minhyuk worked at the screens. "What is happening?" Thalrix asked. "Vraxian fleet. They just arrived in orbit," Minhyuk said. His voice was steady. On the screen, Thalrix saw the ships. 15 Vraxian warships. Each one was massive, dark metal covered with weapons. They circled the planet like predators. A message came through. A large Vraxian face appeared on screen. He had gray scales and yellow eyes. Scars crossed his face. This was war leader Rector. Thalrix had heard of him. He was known for his cruelty. "Humans," Rector said. His voice was deep and rough. "You are in Vraxian space. You have 6 hours to leave this planet. Take your people and go. If you are still here when time ends, we will kill every one of you. This is our only warning." The screen went dark. Silence filled the command center. Thalrix waited for panic, for rushing, for the evacuation to begin. Instead, Doyen turned to Minhyuk. "What do our sensors show?" 15 warships. Approximately 5,000 ground troops on transport ships. "Standard Vraxian battle formation," Minhyuk replied. "Good. Activate defense grid. Send the signal. Tell everyone it has begun." "You are not leaving?" Thalrix could not believe it. "Captain, they will destroy you. You have maybe 300 soldiers. They have thousands." "You must evacuate!" Doyen looked at him. His eyes were calm but hard. "Observer Thalrix, these are our people. This is our home. We do not run, but you will die." "Maybe," Doyen said. "But we will make them regret coming here." Minhyuk turned from his screen. He looked at Thalrix and said something the observer would remember forever. "We are not staying here because we think we can win. We are staying because running is not an option." This is what it means to be human. Thalrix watched as the humans moved into action. There was no panic, no fear. Everyone knew their job. Jiwoo gathered her squad. Taehoon loaded equipment into trucks. Medical staff prepared the hospital. Families moved into underground shelters. The colony that looked so peaceful now changed. Buildings opened to reveal hidden guns. Gardens lifted up to show missile launchers. The ground itself moved as metal walls rose from beneath the soil. This place had been a fortress all along. Thalrix had walked through it and seen nothing. "You tricked me," he said. "You showed me a peaceful colony, but it was all a lie." Doyen shook his head. "It was not a lie. Those families are real. The children playing were real. We just believe in being prepared. Hope for peace, but prepare for war." As dawn came, the 6 hours passed. Thalrix stood in the command bunker deep underground. Screens showed the sky above. The Vraxian ships moved into attack position. Rektor's voice came through again. "Your time is over, humans. Now you die." The first orbital strike lit up the morning sky. Beams of energy came down from space. But before they hit the ground, blue shields appeared. The energy spread across invisible barriers and disappeared. Minyuk smiled. "Shield generators holding at 90%. Return fire when ready." Hidden missile launchers opened. Hundreds of missiles shot into the sky. They were small and fast. The Vraxian ships fired their defense weapons, but the missiles dodged and weaved. Several found their targets. Explosions bloomed against the warship hulls. Thalrix stared at the screens. The humans were fighting back. They were actually fighting back. Against 15 warships, against an empire that had conquered dozens of worlds. Doyen stood with his arms crossed, watching everything. He did not look surprised or scared. He looked like he had expected this. Like he had planned for this. "Ground forces incoming," Minyuk announced. "Landing in sectors 3, 7, and 12. All squads to positions. Let them land. Let them think they are winning," Doyen ordered. Thalrix watched the screens as Vraxian dropships fell from the sky. They were huge soldiers, each one carrying heavy weapons. They would crush the human defenders easily. Or so he thought. As the Vraxian troops spread into the colony streets, hidden guns opened fire. Explosions tore through their formations. Buildings that looked empty suddenly filled with human soldiers. What seemed like simple walls became deadly traps. Jiwoo's voice came through the radio. "Sector 3, enemy engaged." They fell right into it, Doyen nodded. "Good. All squads execute Phase 2. Thalrix realized something that made his blood cold. The humans were not defending desperately. They were hunting. Every movement was planned. Every trap was ready. The Vraxians thought they were the predators. They were wrong. For the first time in his life, Thalrix understood what fear meant. Not fear for himself. Fear of what he was seeing. Fear of what humans could do when they decided to fight. The war for Vaskara Prime had begun, and Thalrix knew the galaxy had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans were weak. They were not weak. They were something much worse. They were dangerous. The battle had been going for 3 hours. Thalrix could not believe what he was seeing. The Vraxian soldiers were dying, hundreds of them. These were the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They had conquered 20 worlds. But here on Vaskara Prime, they were falling. The screens in the command bunker showed everything. Sector 3 was a killing zone. The Vraxians had pushed into the colony streets. They thought they were winning. Then the streets exploded. Taehoon had rigged the entire sector with hidden bombs. Buildings collapsed on enemy soldiers. Fire swept through their ranks. Sector 3 secured, Taehoon's voice came through the radio. He sounded calm, almost bored. Moving to Sector 5 to set up the next surprise. Thalrix looked at Doyen. The captain stood with his arms folded, watching the screens. His face showed no emotion. Just focus. Just calculation. "How many humans have you lost?" Thalrix asked. 7 wounded. 2 dead. Minyuk answered without looking away from his screen. "The Vraxians have lost over 400. It was impossible. The Vraxians were bigger, stronger, better armed. Each one was worth 3 human soldiers in direct combat. But the humans were not fighting directly. They were fighting smart." On screen, Thalrix watched Jiwoo's squad in action. They moved through the ruins like ghosts. A group of Vraxian soldiers marched down a street. They were confident. They outnumbered the humans 5 to 1. They did not see the humans hiding in the buildings above them. Jiwoo made a hand signal. Her squad opened fire from 3 different positions. The Vraxians never had a chance. They fell before they could even raise their weapons. Then Jiwoo's squad disappeared into the buildings again. Gone before reinforcements could arrive. That is not honorable combat, Thalric said quietly. He did not mean it as criticism. Just an observation. Doyen finally looked at him. No, it is not. But we are not trying to be honorable. We are trying to survive. Honor does not protect your family. Victory does. Another screen showed Sector 7. The Vraxians had captured a human supply building. They thought it was valuable. They gathered inside to organize. Then Tehun triggered the trap. The building was not a supply depot. It was filled with fuel canisters. The explosion was massive. Thalric turned away from the screen. He did not want to see more. This is wrong, Thalric said. You are supposed to be the good ones. The peaceful ones. But you fight like monsters. Doyen's expression hardened. You think we want this? You think we enjoy killing? We did not start this war. They came here. They threatened our families. They gave us a choice between running or fighting. We chose to fight. If that makes us monsters in your eyes, then so be it. Minhyuk spoke up. Observer, the Vraxians have destroyed 3 human colonies in the past year. They killed everyone. Men, women, children. They did not care. Captain Doyen lost his wife and daughter in one of those attacks. Every person here has lost someone. We fight because we must. Thalric felt shame. He had judged without understanding. The Cathari had never faced extinction. They had never needed to fight for survival. It was easy to talk about honor when your family was safe. I apologize, he said. I did not know. Doyen nodded. Now you understand. We are not proud of what we do, but we are good at it. Humanity learned to survive on a planet that tried to kill us for millions of years. Ice ages, diseases, predators, volcanoes, asteroids, we survived everything. We learned to adapt, to use any advantage. That is what you are seeing now. An alarm sounded. Minhyuk's fingers flew across his controls. Enemy breakthrough in Sector 12. They are pushing toward the hospital. Doyen moved quickly. Jiwoo, take your squad to Sector 12. Protect that hospital. On my way, Jiwoo's voice responded. Thalric watched the screen showing Sector 12. A large force of Vraxians was pushing through the defenses. These were their elite soldiers. Bigger than the others. Covered in heavy armor. They carried massive guns. Nothing seemed to stop them. The hospital held wounded soldiers and sick colonists. It could not be defended easily. If the Vraxians reached it, everyone inside would die. Jiwoo's squad reached the hospital first. Thalric counted them on screen. Only 8 humans. Against 40 Vraxian elite warriors. It was hopeless. Pull them back, Thalric said. They cannot win that fight. We do not pull back, Doyen said quietly. Jiwoo knows what to do. Jiwoo's voice came through. Tehun, I need every trap you have left. Set them around the hospital. 5 minutes. You have 3, Tehun replied. The Vraxians move fast. Then I will buy you time. Jiwoo's squad took position at a narrow choke point between 2 buildings. The Vraxians came around the corner like a charging wall. They roared and fired their weapons. But the narrow space meant they could only attack a few at a time. Jiwoo's squad concentrated their fire. The front Vraxians fell. But more came behind them. The humans ran out of ammunition quickly. Thalric saw them draw knives and steel batons. Close combat against Vraxians was suicide. Each Vraxian was twice the size of a human. Stronger, faster, covered in natural armor scales. But Jiwoo fought anyway. She moved like water, dodging, striking weak points, behind the knee, under the arm, the throat, places where armor did not protect. A Vraxian grabbed her and threw her against a wall. Thalric heard the crack even through the speakers. She should have stayed down. Any reasonable being would have stayed down. She got up. Her left arm hung useless. Blood ran down her face. She picked up her helmet with her right hand, used it like a club, swung it into a Vraxian's face again and again, until he fell. Why does she not stop? Thalric whispered. She is going to die. Because behind her is a hospital full of wounded people, Doyen said. His voice was tight with emotion. She will not let the enemy through, even if it kills her. Tehun's voice cut through the tension. Traps are ready. Jiwoo, fall back now. Jiwoo and her squad retreated into the hospital. The Vraxians chased them. Victory was close. They poured into the open area in front of the hospital. All 40 of them, packed together, confident, deadly. Tehun triggered the traps. Explosions ripped through the Vraxians from all sides. The ground itself opened up and swallowed them. Hidden machine guns fired from the hospital windows. In 30 seconds, it was over. The Vraxian elite force was gone. Thalric sat down. His legs would not hold him anymore. How are you winning? Minhyuk turned to face him. Because we fight differently. The Vraxians fight for honor, for glory, for their empire. We fight for survival, for our families, for each other. There is no limit to what a human will do to protect those they love. That is what makes us dangerous. On the screen, medic Hana Soi rushed out to help Jiwoo. She worked quickly, treating the broken arm. Jiwoo tried to wave her away, wanting to keep fighting. Soi gave her an injection. Something for pain. Then she helped Jiwoo into the hospital. Casualty report, Doyen ordered. 4 more wounded. 1 dead. Sergeant Jiwoo will recover, Minhyuk said. The Vraxians have now lost over 800 soldiers. That is almost 20% of their force. In orbit, Vrektor must have been seeing the same numbers. The impossible numbers. His voice came through the communication system again. He did not sound confident anymore. He sounded angry, confused. What are you? You should be dead. We have superior numbers. Superior weapons. Why are you still fighting? Doyen walked to the communication console. He pressed the button to reply. His voice was calm and cold. You came to our home. You threatened our families. You gave us 6 hours to run away like scared animals. Did you really think we would? This is what happens when you attack humans. This is what happens when you underestimate us. Leave now while you still can. Silence. Then Vrektor laughed, but it did not sound like a confident laugh anymore. It sounded nervous. This is not over, human. We will crush you. You can try, Doyen said. Then he cut the communication. Thalrix understood now. The humans were not winning through strength. They were winning through intelligence, through preparation, through sheer determination. The Vraxians fought because it was their culture. The humans fought because there was no other choice, and that made all the difference. 3 days had passed. The battle had become a siege. The Vraxian fleet stayed in orbit, blocking any escape. Their ground forces surrounded the human colony but did not attack. They were afraid now. Thalrix could see it in their movements. They had learned that attacking humans cost too much blood. Vrektor was still sending threats through the communication system. But his words sounded empty, angry but powerless. The humans had killed over half his ground troops. His warships were damaged from the constant missile attacks. He could destroy the colony from orbit, but that would mean admitting defeat. The mighty Vraxian Empire beaten by a few hundred humans. Thalrix sat in the command center. Doyen had allowed him to move freely. The captain knew Thalrix was no threat. Just an observer. A witness to something the galaxy had never seen before. Humans at war. Doyen stood at a large table with Minhyuk. They looked at maps and charts. They spoke quietly. Thalrix moved closer to listen. The reinforcements will arrive in 6 hours, Minhyuk said. Admiral Park confirmed it. 4 destroyers and 2 carriers with full marine complement. Reinforcements? Thalrix asked. You called for help? Doyen smiled. It was a cold smile. We called for help the moment the Vraxians arrived. We just needed to survive until they got here. Everything we have done for 3 days was buying time. You mean this was all a distraction? You were never really defending. You were stalling? We were doing both, Minhyuk said. The defense was real. Our people needed protection. But yes, we were also keeping the Vraxians busy. Keeping them here. Keeping them focused on us while our fleet moved into position. Thalrix felt a chill run through his body. The humans had planned everything. From the beginning, they had known help was coming. Every trap, every ambush, every desperate fight was part of a larger strategy. The Vraxians had walked into a trap. Does Vrektor know? Thalrix asked. Not yet, Doyen said. But he will soon. 6 hours later, alarms sounded throughout the command center. But this time they were not warning alarms. They were victory alarms. On the screens, new ships appeared. Human warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They appeared all around the Vraxian fleet. Surrounding them. The human ships were smaller than the Vraxian warships, but there were more of them. And they moved fast, like sharks circling prey. A woman's voice came through the communication system. She sounded calm and professional. This is Admiral Park of the Human Defense Fleet. Vraxian forces, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any attempt to flee or fight will result in your destruction. This is your only warning. Vrektor's response was immediate. You dare threaten the Vraxian Empire? We will crush you. Very well, Admiral Park said. All ships open fire. The space battle was nothing like the ground fighting. It was faster, more violent. The human ships moved in coordinated patterns. They focused fire on one Vraxian ship at a time. Missiles and laser fire overwhelmed the shields. One by one, the Vraxian warships went dark. The Varaxians tried to fight back. Their weapons were powerful. They destroyed 2 human destroyers. But for every human ship lost, 3 Varaxian ships were crippled. The math was simple. The Varaxians were losing. Thalrix watched one particular human ship. It was small and fast. It flew straight at a Varaxian warship, firing all its weapons. The Varaxian ship returned fire. The human ship was hit. It started to spin out of control, but instead of retreating, it accelerated. It crashed directly into the Varaxian ship's engine section. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. They sacrificed themselves, Thalrix said. The human crew killed themselves to destroy that ship. The captain of that ship had 3 options, Doyen said quietly. He could retreat and let the Varaxian ship continue fighting. He could drift in space and hope for rescue while his ship was destroyed. Or he could make his death count for something. He chose the 3rd option. That is what humans do. We make every sacrifice mean something. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. 10 Varaxian warships were destroyed or disabled. 3 tried to escape. The human ships chased them down. Only 2 Varaxian ships survived. They powered down their weapons and surrendered. Frektor's flagship was one of them. Prepare for boarding action, Admiral Park ordered. I want Frektor alive. He will answer for his crimes. Doyun turned to Minhyuk. Take a team up there. Help with the boarding. And Minhyuk? Make sure Frektor sees exactly what happens when you threaten human families. Minhyuk nodded. He gathered Taihun and a squad of Marines. Jiwoo wanted to go too, but her arm was still healing. She argued with Soi, but the medic refused to clear her for combat. Jiwoo had to stay behind. She was not happy about it. Thalrix watched through the cameras as Minhyuk's team boarded the Varaxian flagship. The boarding was violent and fast. The Varaxian crew tried to resist. They had numbers and strength. But the humans had speed and training. They moved through the ship like they had practiced this 1,000 times, which Thalrix realized they probably had. Taehun used his engineering skills to cut through locked doors. He set charges that blew holes in walls. He turned the Varaxian ship's own systems against them. He shut down life support in some sections, locked doors in others, trapped groups of Varaxians in dead-end corridors where human Marines could capture them. Minhyuk led his team to the bridge. The doors were sealed and heavily defended. 20 Varaxian guards stood outside. They raised their weapons. Minhyuk raised his hand. His team stopped. They took cover. Throw down your weapons, Minhyuk called out in the Varaxian language. Your fleet is destroyed. Your war leader has lost. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly. Fight and you will die. Choose. The Varaxian guards looked at each other. They were warriors. Trained to fight. Trained to die with honor. But they had seen what happened to their comrades who fought the humans. They had seen entire squads wiped out by human tactics and traps. One by one, they lowered their weapons. They placed them on the ground. They raised their hands. They surrendered. Minhyuk's team secured them quickly. Then they cut through the bridge doors. Inside, Frektor sat in his command chair. He looked smaller somehow, not as dangerous. His yellow eyes stared at the humans with confusion and fear. How? He asked. How did you win? We are stronger. We are better warriors. We have conquered 20 worlds. How did you defeat us? Minhyuk walked up to him slowly. He looked the massive Varaxian in the eyes. You are stronger. That is true. You are better warriors in single combat. That is also true. But we are smarter. We are more adaptable. And we fight for something more important than honor or glory. We fight for survival. We fight for our families. When you threaten a human's family, you do not fight one human. You fight all of us. You made that mistake. Now you pay the price. Frektor was pulled from his chair. His hands were bound. He was marched off the bridge. The mighty war leader, the terror of 3 sectors, was now a prisoner. Defeated by the species he thought was weak. Back in the command center, Thalrix watched everything. He felt like his entire understanding of the universe had changed. The Cathari believed that advanced species did not need violence, that civilization meant peace, but humans were civilized. They built art and music and literature. They loved their children. They cared for their sick. And yet they were also the most dangerous species he had ever seen. Doyen sat down next to him. The captain looked tired. 3 days of constant battle had worn on him. But he also looked satisfied. His people were safe. That was all that mattered to him. You will report this to the council, Doyen said. It was not a question, I must. It is my duty. What will you tell them? Thalrix thought about it. I will tell them the truth. That humans are dangerous. That underestimating them is a mistake. that anyone who threatens humanity should be prepared for war. Real war, not the honorable combat that other species practice. Humans fight to win. They fight to survive, and they are very, very good at it. Doyen nodded. That is fair. But also tell them this. We do not want war. We want peace. We want to raise our children in safety. We want to explore and learn and grow. But if someone forces us to fight, we will fight. And we will not stop until the threat is gone. I will tell them, Thalrix promised. The counterattack was over. The Vraxians were defeated. Vascara Prime was safe. And the galaxy had just learned a lesson it would not forget. Humans were not weak. They were not helpless. They were survivors. And when you threatened what they loved, they became something much worse than warriors. They became unstoppable. The war was over. The colony was quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet. The peaceful silence had been replaced by the silence of exhaustion, of grief, of victory that cost too much. Thalrix walked through the streets of the colony. The damage was everywhere. Buildings with holes blown through them, streets torn up by explosions, scorch marks on walls. The smell of smoke still hung in the air. It would be months before this place looked normal again. He saw humans working to repair the damage. Some carried supplies, others cleared rubble. They worked together without complaint. Even wounded soldiers helped where they could. Shiwu, her arm in a sling, directed cleanup operations. She should have been resting, but she was not the type to rest while there was work to do. In the medical center, Soyi treated prisoners. Vraxian prisoners, the same soldiers who had tried to kill her people days ago. But she worked on them with the same care she gave to humans. She cleaned their wounds. She gave them medicine. She saved their lives. Thalrix stopped to watch. A Vraxian soldier lay on a bed. His leg was badly damaged. Soyi worked carefully to repair it. The Vraxian watched her with confused eyes. "Why do you help me?" the Vraxian asked. His voice was weak. "I tried to kill your people." Soyi did not look up from her work. "Because the war is over. You are no longer my enemy. You are my patient. And I help patients. All patients." "This makes no sense," the Vraxian said. "Your people fight like demons. Then you show mercy like this. What are you?" Soyi finally looked at him. "We are human. We fight when we must. We heal when we can. Both are important. Both are part of who we are." Thalrix left the medical center and walked to the memorial ground. The humans had set up a special area to honor their dead. 37 humans had died defending the colony, not many compared to the Vraxian losses, but each death meant something to the humans. Each loss was felt deeply. The memorial was simple. 37 stone markers in neat rows. Each one had a name, an age, a picture. Fresh flowers lay in front of each marker. Family members and friends stood nearby. Some cried quietly. Others just stood in silence. Doyen stood at the front. He was giving a speech. His voice carried across the memorial ground. "We gather here to remember those who gave everything. They were soldiers and civilians, young and old. They were mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbors. They did not want to die. They wanted to live, to see their children grow, to grow old in peace. But when their home was threatened, they stood and fought. They bought us time with their lives, and we will never forget them." Thalrix listened to every word. He thought about the Cathari. His people had never built memorials like this. They had never lost people to war. They did not understand this kind of grief, this kind of sacrifice. After the ceremony, Thalrix walked with Doyen back to the command center. They walked in silence for a while. Finally, Thalrix spoke. "You hate them, do you not? The Vraxians. They killed your family. They tried to destroy your colony. How can you show them mercy?" Doyen was quiet for a long moment. "I do hate them. I hate what they did. I hate the Vraxian Empire for its cruelty. But those prisoners in our medical center, most of them are just soldiers, following orders. They did not choose this war. Their leaders did. If I kill them out of hate, I become what I am fighting against. I become the monster. So yes, I hate, but I also choose to be better than my hate. That must be very difficult." "It is the hardest thing I have ever done," Doyen admitted. "Harder than any battle, but it is necessary. If humans let our hate control us, we become no better than those who attack us. We must be better. We must choose to be better." They reached the holding area where Vrektor was kept. The war leader was in a secure cell. He sat on a bench looking at the floor. He did not look dangerous anymore. He looked defeated, broken. Doyen stopped outside the cell. "War leader Vrektor, I thought you should know. Your soldiers are being treated well. They will be returned to your empire in exchange for our people you hold prisoner. You will face trial for war crimes, but your soldiers will go home. Rektor looked up slowly. Why spare them? You could kill them all. You have won. You have the right. We won because we had to, Doyen said. Not because we wanted to. We do not kill for pleasure or revenge. We kill to protect. The threat is over, so the killing stops. This is what makes us different from you. We know when to stop. Rektor stared at Doyen. I do not understand your species. You fight like nothing I have ever seen. Without mercy. Without honor. Then you show mercy when you have won. This makes no sense, Minhyuk stepped forward. That is because you do not understand what drives us. You fight for honor. For glory. For your empire. We fight for survival. For protection. When the fight is over, we stop fighting. We do not need to prove anything. We just need our families to be safe. They are safe now. So the fight is done. Thalrix watched the exchange. He was beginning to understand humans better. They were not simple creatures. They had the capacity for terrible violence. But they also had the capacity for great compassion. Both existed in them at the same time. They could be monsters or angels depending on the situation. That duality made them more complex than any species he had studied. Later, Thalrix found Jiwoo sitting alone outside the hospital. She was watching the sunset. Her injured arm rested in its sling. She looked tired but peaceful. May I sit? Thalrix asked. Jiwoo nodded. They sat in silence for a while. Finally, Thalrix spoke. I watched you fight. I saw you nearly die protecting the hospital. Why did you not retreat? Why did you keep fighting when you were so badly hurt? Jiwoo smiled slightly. Behind me were sick people. Wounded soldiers, doctors and nurses. If I retreated, the Vraxians would have killed them all. I could not let that happen. So I did not retreat. It is simple. But you could have died. Yes. I could have died. But they would have lived. That is the trade I was willing to make. That is what soldiers do. We stand between danger and the people we protect. We do not do it for glory. We do it because someone must. Because if not us, then who? Thalrix thought about his own species. The Cathari avoided conflict. They relied on other species for protection. They had no warriors of their own. What would they do if someone attacked them? Who would stand and fight? Who would protect them? You humans fight so others do not have to, he said quietly. That is what you told me. I understand now. You could have run away. You could have abandoned this colony and saved yourselves. But you stayed. You fought, you died, so that others could live in peace. That is right, Jiwoo said. We fight so our children do not have to. We fight so farmers can farm, so teachers can teach, so doctors can heal. We fight so that peace is possible. That is the difference between us and the Vraxians. They fight to conquer. We fight to protect. Purpose matters. The sun set over Vaskara Prime. The sky turned orange and red. It was beautiful. In a few weeks, this place would recover. The scars would fade. Life would return to normal. But Thalrix knew that the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. He had come here thinking humans were weak. Small and soft and harmless. He had been wrong. Humans were not weak. They were the most dangerous species he had ever encountered. Not because they were strong or fast or naturally armed, but because they refused to give up, because they protected each other, because they fought with intelligence and determination and absolute commitment. And now that the war was over, they showed mercy. They healed their enemies. They mourned their dead. They chose to be better than their worst impulses. That was what made humans truly frightening. They could be monsters when necessary, but they chose not to be. That choice, that control made them more dangerous than any species that was simply violent by nature. Thalrix knew his report to the Galactic Council would change everything. The galaxy needed to understand what humans really were, not weak, not harmless, but also not mindless killers. They were protectors, warriors who fought for peace, and the galaxy needed to know that threatening humanity was the worst mistake anyone could make. 2 months had passed since the battle. Thalrix stood before the Galactic Council. The Great Chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species. Some were peaceful like the Cathari. Others were warriors like the Vraxians. All of them waited to hear his report. The chamber was massive. Curved walls rose high above. Each species had its own section with seats and viewing screens. The air was filled with the sound of different languages. Translators worked constantly to help everyone understand each other. At the center sat the council elders, 5 beings from the oldest and wisest species in the galaxy. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had witnessed countless wars. They would judge humanity based on what Thalrix told them. Elder Mortix, a tall being with blue skin and many arms, spoke first. His voice was deep and formal. Observer Thalrix, you were sent to study the human colony on Vascara Prime, to assess their threat level, to determine if they are worthy of council membership. Tell us what you learned. Thalrix stepped forward. He carried a data device with recordings from the battle, but first he would speak with his own words. He needed them to understand. Honored elders, representatives of the council, I went to Vascara Prime believing what many of you believe, that humans are weak, that they are a young species with little to offer, that they are no threat to anyone. He paused. I was wrong. We are all wrong. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many representatives looked confused. Some looked amused. The Vraxian section was almost empty. Only a few representatives sat there. They did not look amused. They looked angry. Humans are not weak, Thalrix continued. They are the most dangerous species I have ever encountered. And I say that as someone who has studied war for my entire career. Let me show you why. He activated his data device. The screens around the chamber lit up. They showed the battle, the Vraxian attack, the human defense, the traps and ambushes, the orbital combat, everything. The chamber fell silent as they watched. They saw Jiwoo fighting with a broken arm. They saw Taehoon turning buildings into bombs. They saw Doyon calmly directing the defense while outnumbered 10-1. They saw the human reinforcements arrive and destroy the Vraxian fleet in 20 minutes. When the recordings ended, the silence continued. No one spoke. They were all processing what they had seen. Finally, Elder Vorkal spoke. She was a small being with wings and sharp eyes. The Vraxians are known warriors. They have conquered many worlds. How did 300 humans defeat 5,000 of them? Because humans fight differently, Thalrix explained. The Vraxians fight for honor and glory. They charge directly at their enemies. They believe in strength and courage. Humans do not care about honor. They care about winning. They care about survival. They use every advantage, every trick, every weapon. They adapt to any situation, and most importantly, they never give up. A Vraxian representative stood up. His scales were dark red. His voice was angry. You call it adaptation. We call it cowardice. They hide and set traps like prey animals. They do not fight with honor. Thalrix looked at him directly. And where is your war leader Rector now? Where is his mighty fleet? Where are the 5,000 soldiers he brought? They are dead or captured. Defeated by cowards, as you call them. So tell me, which is more important? Honor or victory? Pride or survival? Your empire learned a hard lesson on Vascara Prime. I hope the rest of the galaxy learns it without bloodshed. The Vraxian sat down. He had no response. The truth was clear. Honor had not saved his people. Pride had led to their defeat. Elder Mortix leaned forward. Observer Thalrix, are you saying humans are a threat to the Council? Should we fear them? That depends on us, Thalrix said. Humans do not want war. I saw that clearly. They want peace. They want to raise their families. They want to explore and learn. But if someone attacks them, they will fight. And when humans fight, they fight to win. Completely without mercy. They are the kindest species I have met, and the most brutal. Both at the same time. That is what makes them so dangerous. He showed more recordings. These showed the aftermath. Soy treating Vraxian prisoners. The memorial service for the dead. Doyon showing mercy to Vrektor. The humans rebuilding their colony with former enemies working alongside them. They show mercy to their enemies, Thalrix said. They could have killed every Vraxian prisoner. They had the right, but they chose not to. They chose to heal them, to send them home. This is what separates humans from other warrior species. They know when to stop fighting. They control their violence. They choose mercy over revenge. Elder Kexara, an ancient being made of crystal, spoke for the first time. Her voice sounded like music. So they are dangerous but controlled. Violent but merciful. Warriors but peacemakers. This is a contradiction. No, Thalrix said. It is not a contradiction. It is balance. Humans understand that sometimes violence is necessary, but they also understand that violence alone solves nothing. They fight when they must. They show mercy when they can. This balance makes them stronger than species who only know how to fight, or only know how to talk. Humans can do both. The chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives argued with each other. Some wanted to ban humans from council space. Others wanted to form alliances. Some were afraid. Others were curious. The elders let them talk for several minutes before calling for silence. Elder Mortix spoke again. Observer Thalrix, you have given us much to consider, but we need your recommendation. Should we accept humanity into the council? Should we grant them protected status? Or should we designate them as a threat to be contained? Thalrix took a deep breath. This was the most important moment of his career. His words would shape humanity's future in the galaxy. I recommend we accept them, grant them full council membership, grant them protected status, and I recommend we make it very clear to every species in the galaxy that attacking humans is forbidden, not because we fear them, but because we respect them. They are survivors. They are protectors. If we treat them fairly, they will be our greatest allies. If we treat them as enemies, they will be our worst nightmare. He paused and looked around the chamber. I went to Vascara Prime thinking I was observing a minor species. I was wrong. I was witnessing the rise of something the galaxy has never seen before. A species that combines the best qualities of warriors and peacemakers. A species that protects the weak while showing mercy to the strong. A species that fights only when necessary but fights to win when they must. The title of my report is this: I never knew fear until I saw how humans fight, and now I pray I never have to see it again because I never want humans as enemies. I want them as friends, as allies, as the protectors they were meant to be. The elders looked at each other. They communicated in ways Thalrix could not see. Finally, Elder Mortix nodded. The council will vote. All in favor of accepting humanity with full membership and protected status? Lights appeared across the chamber. Green for yes, red for no, yellow for abstain. Thalrix watched as the votes came in. The Vraxians voted no. A few other warrior species joined them. But the majority voted yes. Green lights filled the chamber. The motion passes, Elder Mortix announced. Humanity is granted full council membership and protected status. Any attack on human territory will be considered an attack on the council itself. Let this be known throughout the galaxy. Thalrix felt relief wash over him. He had done it. He had protected humanity from the fear and prejudice of the galaxy. Now they could grow in peace. Now they could become what they were meant to be. After the session ended, Thalrix returned to his quarters. He sent a message to Vascara Prime, to Doyon. The message was simple. Captain Doyon, the council has voted. Humanity is now a full member with protected status. You will never have to fight alone again. The galaxy knows what you are now, what you can do, and most importantly, what you choose not to do. Thank you for teaching me what true strength means. Your friend Thalrix. The response came hours later. It was short. Just like Doyon, thank you for understanding us. We look forward to working with the Council to build a better galaxy, one where strength protects rather than threatens, where different species help each other rather than fight. We are honored to be part of this vision. Your friend Doyon. Thalrix smiled. The galaxy had changed today. For the better. Humanity would bring new ideas, new perspectives, new strength. And most importantly, they would bring balance. The balance between peace and war, between mercy and justice, between kindness and strength. He looked at the stars outside his window. Somewhere out there on Vascara Prime, the humans were rebuilding, living their lives, raising their families, being peaceful. But ready, always ready, and the galaxy was safer because of it. Because now everyone knew. Never underestimate humans, never threaten their families, never make them fight. Because when humans fight, they fight to win, and they always win. Thalrix had learned fear on Vascara Prime. He had learned respect. He had learned that the most dangerous beings in the universe are not the ones who look dangerous. They are the ones who choose when to be dangerous. And humans had mastered that choice. He never wanted to see humans fight again. But he was glad they existed. Glad they were on the side of peace. Glad they were friends rather than enemies.